based on the.
So when you're speaking and your audio is cracky, I'll just stop your video temporarily so your audio can be better with your internet. That's probably.
Alexa, so much difficult. Hello.
Go ahead now.
Okay. So I said my observation from the lecture of Thursday, I was finding it so difficult in getting, my network was so bad that I couldn't get through so well on Thursday. I was even saying that I'm going to send a message, payment, a complete payment. How soon are we going to be getting the videos so that we can, at our own leisure time, after the lecture, to get exactly the position, exactly the lecture that we have received.
Okay. You need to get internet that works for you, right? We're in the 21st century now, and the options are so many these days for next to nothing in cost to get an internet that works. In my location, I've narrowed it down to Smile or Swift or MTN. I don't try Glo, for example, because I've experienced, different networks. It can be in another place and Glo will be the best one. You just buy 200 naira and your class is run, right? So make efforts to get a good internet source. We are moving in the age of technology that a lot of these things, in fact, our lives and our businesses and our future depends on a good data network to do virtually anything you do right now. So you need to check on the options available to you and get a good one. On the issue of access to video, that's the only ace for those who are owing tuition, who have been allowed into the program on a flexible payment. We really can't do anything about that policy. Okay, I explained again and again. It's actually quiet for me to speak, so I can let you speak again. If we explained again and again that if we see the importance of that, we will do what it takes to meet up with the financial commitment earlier than we even projected, so we can get access to all the videos. This is very important to us because we have people in previous batches who have moved on and they don't want to think about the bills they have accumulated as a bill that they need to pay. Because let me tell you the truth, within 3-4 classes in this class, let's say 10 classes, we already have enough arsenal of knowledge and skill to make significant changes in where you work, to ace interviews and pass SM exams. To look back. There are guys who came to this training in 2017 and they've not come back for certificates till today. They're flying high. They've changed job 2-3 times and they didn't come back to get the certificates because they can defend what they have been taught. They know their onions from what they've undertaken here. And we're left with the short end of the stick. So I think we'll have for having that policy in place so that we'll not move back. Okay.
What about those of us who have completed our payments?
If you've completed your payments, once we are in the family, in a few more classes, you have the link. That's what I'm saying. Don't worry about that. You'll get the link. Compiling, you'll get the links to all. So whatever you probably didn't get already and whatever, you will get it. You'll get it soon. Okay, Baraka's on the call. I just want to get, let's say at the end of the first week and maybe into the second week, we'll have everything up and running because you will have access to videos of previous classes already. Then you'll not be having access, that same access will give you access to the classes that you are running in your sets ongoing. So it's a huge opportunity for all those who have met up with their financial commitments, okay?
Okay, sir. All right. Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome. Vianana, can you please give us your takeaway from the last class? 1 minute. Maybe before I get to you, sorry, I would like to have the introduction from Mr. Tosin. Let's see who else is there new. Tosin Adedoyin and Galaxy A12. Can you please rename yourself on the screen? We can't have a Galaxy A12 in class. That's why I removed you before. I thought I talked to you and you were able to make that correction. I'll have to remove you again sorry. I'm expecting, okay, so the 170821, does it know himself now, Barakat? Hello, Barakat.
Yes, I think he's trying to rename himself already.
Okay.
Trying to rename himself already.
He's trying to rename himself.
Yes.
Now, okay. Somebody on the platform is saying he still can't join. How did you all join this meeting? You clicked on the link and put the passcode, right? Did you just click on the link and join the meeting, or you had to put in the 888 in 6 places passcode?
We have to put on the 888, the 68 password. So
you did that. Passcode is what you use. Is that the same for everybody? Do you all use the passcode to get in?
Yes, I also use
the
use the 88 passcode.
Okay. Okay.
I also put 888 too.
Okay, that means it worked for everybody. So let the person who is on the group unable to enter just use the link. May not use the meeting ID. The meeting ID could be different. I think the meeting ID is actually different. Let me see. The meeting ID, yeah, it's not different. It's 813-440-1177.
It's still the same meeting ID. The same meeting ID.
Yes, the same meeting ID 813-440-1177. Yes. So the meeting ID and that 8 and 6 places passcode is the end access. Okay, I think we've all come in compliance now, and thank you very much for renaming yourself.
Check 1, 2.
I still have that with Galaxy. Galaxy A12. I'm not sure you're seeing that that's your name that is on display. The name is Tayo. Baka, go ahead and say it properly so he can hear you.
Okay, Mr. Adekunle John. Mr. Adekunle John, can you hear yourself? Yes.
Okay, yeah, I'm on it right now. I'm on it. Sorry.
Yes. All right. Okay, Mr. Tosin, yes. I'm expecting Mr. Wine Department to be on this call as well. Is he here, Barakat?
He's not here.
I need to find out why he's not here. It's supposed to be his first class. So before Mr. Tosin finishes introduction, call him. Let's see what's blocking his access as well. All right, thank you. All right, yes. Now we are formally down to business. Mr. Tosin, please go ahead with your introduction.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Tosin Adedoyin. I had been in class on Thursday. I was in the office then. So I'm Tosin, and my background is electrical. I introduced myself on Thursday.
Oh, you did?
Yes, I did.
Oh, okay. That's my fault then. I thought your face looked so new today, so that's why I'm
so new.
Yes. And And I know from the records between Thursday and today, there's supposed to be 2 people. I just remember Mr. Wine now, and also wondering who the second person is that's joining us for the first time. Oh, wow. He changed his name to 8888. That's not what we want to happen. We want that renaming name, not the passcode.
Sorry, I'm struggling to change the ID.
Yeah, so just go to more, click on rename, and put your name and surname. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If you're able to change to 888, that means you got there. So go back to where you got it to enter 888 and put your name. Thank you. Okay. So we'll start. We'll go back to our takeaways. This time I'll start with Vianana, like I appointed initially. I'll go to Moses and then Emmanuel in that order.
All right, thank you, sir. Good evening, class. My takeaway is particularly on leadership. For me, that's one takeaway, because when I transited from safety to
Good afternoon, sir.
Go on.
Okay, so when I transited from safety into facility management, there was a bit of a problem working with my bosses. So at a particular day, I was so frustrated that I went to my boss's boss to complain. And he said something that was key to me. He said, Vianana, you need to know how to manage your managers. And the moment I got that realization, it was easy for me to work with the managers who hitherto were problems to me. So that's key. Knowing what's the expectation, what they want from you, and also working in line with their objective and their vision. At the same time, to also leading people behind you, so they are also aligning with the overall vision of the leadership. So that is a key takeaway for me.
Fantastic. And quite honestly, that lesson is like a holy grail. It draws the line between those who rise and those who don't rise in their careers. Because you don't make yourself rise. You do right, and people make you rise. That's how industries are. That's how all careers and all companies are. Okay? Moses.
Good afternoon, all.
Good afternoon.
From the previous class, I got to know about the crucial nature and importance. The importance of you working with the experience that you gain, not just counting the years in facilities management, but making the years to count. Making it to count in your work schedule. And then whenever you come into a program such as this, there's a need for you to apply those skills and those things that you are learning, put it into the work processes. It should count, because it's not just all about accumulating the years, but for each professional body or whatever skill you gather from the professional societies that you're working with, you should be able to put it into the work processes. So that is one of the things I garnered from the previous class. Thank you.
That was fantastic. Thank you. Emmanuel Egboaba. Egboaba. Sorry, I think I'm trying to get better with that name.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, welcome.
So I think the major takeaway for me from the previous class was the emergency preparedness and business continuity part. One of the things that stuck out for me was nothing should be a surprise to the FM manager, the facility manager, in terms of managing the facility. You should know, you should have a contingency. There should be a plan for the things that could possibly go wrong. So I think that for me, that stood out for me, plus the communication part, the ability to be able to communicate with your clients as well within the department or your office. Like you just said, with with Mr. Aviana right now, I think knowing to manage your managers themselves, leading your managers, having their ears. So I think that one stood out for me too. Then also the information about the membership also got to me, especially the price tag of 1.4 million now. So for the IFA, the facility management professional exam, that really stood out for me. That was a major takeaway for me.
You didn't hear that there's a self-study FMP for 850, eh?
No, I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that.
Okay, don't worry, buckle up, you can do it. Francis.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, class.
Welcome.
Yeah, my takeaway from the last class was firstly from the communication, that is being able to gather all the information of your stakeholder of the said facilities and know how to communicate with each of them in their own ways. Because I've had experiences like you send bulk messages to all, and some of them still expect you to come and tell them by mouth, big men.
Exactly.
They want you to come and say, sir, we are doing fumigation tomorrow morning. Please, they want you to come in the morning to still come and tell them that, sir, it's 1 hour to go. You have to satisfy them because they are the one that is giving you
your
the
job. Yes, sure.
So that actually got me. And the second one about leadership, sir. And I want to thank you for mentioning that. I believe it's the Spirit of God that led you to say it. So it has been my problem. I am a good teacher in terms of things I know. If I teach, I always like to share the glory when you are presenting your glory. Let me put it that way. I always like to share it anywhere that at least mention me in the scope that Francis actually did this. If you don't, I feel bad. Until that day that you mentioned it, that don't try it. It's not going to help you. Then I started praying to God to help me remove it. And I think it has been removed because it's really going to make you not grow. Because from that statement, I now realized that somebody that was supposed to push me further has been trying to keep me lower because he feels that this guy, they know that you are the one doing this job and you still want them to know that you are the one doing it. And then stay at that level. Let me continue to grow. Exactly. So thank you very much for that. I appreciate it.
Very good. That's fantastic. Timmy, talk back.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, everyone. My take on the one that stopped me most was the communication part. They say we must have a document to identify all our stakeholders, and we must not communicate by only speaking and assuming that everybody has gotten the information. We must verify that you have communicated. And also about the leadership part, that you have to lead even your bosses, and you must be a proactive facility manager. Thank you.
Super. Thank you so much. Adekunle John.
Okay. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Okay. Good evening, sir. My take home on Thursday was leadership. That's aspect of me the most. We said as an FM, you must be able to lead, inspire your subordinates, and also your boss, leading your boss. That can be an FM in the office and your boss is taking decision when you are there. That means you have failed and you are useless. So that should not happen to you as an FM. Thank you.
Super. Super. Thank you. Chimeze.
Yeah. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
My takeaway from the last class was about knowing that integrity and competence really builds trust between yourself and your stakeholders. And again, I was, for this one really struck me, this one about knowing that credential takes precedence over, university degrees. Honestly, that particular part struck me a lot. Knowing that you need to continuously build yourself, and knowing that credentials is more or less like a global recognition, has a global recognition than university degree, which in a way I look at it like being locally, recognized. Yeah, I think that, and again, knowing that as an FM, you should be very well abreast with, the market. Once in a while, you try to visit the market, do more like a window shopping, get acquainted with, cost of items in the market. So, these are funny vendors, I think that's what I was able to gather from the last class.
Super. Thank you so much. Chaos.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The last class we had, which was on FM career course, was a good one for me. My takeaway, first of all, I got a clear idea of what it takes to be a facility manager. And I'm happy that I'm starting, because on the area of education and certification, you say any degree or a diploma, then get an entry position, get certification. So I'm happy that I am at this level of trying to get a diploma, and I have my eye on the FMP certification. In fact, I'm already looking out for an entry position. As a matter of fact, I'm an engineering professional, and I'm happy expanding into this area. So I'm really excited to be in this class and, have a kind of a view of where I'm going to. So, and again, your emphasis on FM, being jack of all trade and master of none. I'm sorry, master of all.
Exactly.
I have been struggling with that, but I'm beginning to accept it. I just have to accept it so I can open up my mind to know as much as I can. Most of the times we say jack of all trade, master of none. But now I'm being taught that I can be master of all. So I'm excited about that, and I'm positioning myself to really be master of all.
Super. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Victor.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
My takeaway from the last class, particularly on skill. I would also like you to emphasize on type of skills, set of parts. For that, I take away that I took, and I also implemented it, which helped. It helped me a lot, especially the interpersonal relations. In my work, I have there is this facility manager for the opposite company. We all view him as being very difficult because you never satisfy him. He's never satisfied. But after taking the career course yesterday, under the communication skills where you said when the information that is needed from you comes before being requested, then you're proactive. So, and also you said we should keep a list of the needs of our stakeholders, the needs and wants, and also how you engage them. So I just said, okay, let me try it. I made a list of what he normally complains of. And just before he came that day, I was ready on it. I did everything, and he just immediately I saw him, was just like, have you done this place? I said, yes, sir. Have you done this place? Have you done this place? What of this place? Yes, sir, yes, sir. And he was shocked because he was expecting there was somewhere he was going to complain of. And immediately I told him, I've done it, I've done it. He said, no, let me check. He went there and he confirmed it was all done. He came back and it was like, well done. I said, for the first time I'm hearing well done from him. So
Super.
I appreciate you. Thank you very much. And sir, I would like you to emphasize on the skills. You mentioned the soft and the hard skills, but you didn't actually give a specific definition for the soft and the hard skills.
Okay.
Thank
Yes,
you.
so I can actually take care of that right now. Let me just answer that question straight up. The hard skills are the technical skills, right? They are the skills related to how you do maintenance, how you do asset register, how you do operations planning, how you prepare rosters. Those are professional skills. The soft skills are the people skills, relationships, leadership, communication, trust, all of those things that are not specifically job related, but they are character related. Okay, so any skill that can be taken, that can be transferred from your personality, from your temperament into your work environment is a soft skill. The one that you learn specifically for the job is a technical or hard skill. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Kingsley.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Yes, sir. From the last class, my takeaway include the networking. Networking from the last class, we are made to understand that networking is very essential in this profession. And for us to be relevant, it's not about what we know, but who we know in the profession. So we should try as much as possible to network with FM organizations, clubs to be relevant, and also to try as much as possible to enhance our career by getting certified. I think that is just my takeaway from the last class, included what we discussed.
That is very good, very good. Anthony.
Yeah. Hello, sir.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, your audio is good.
My own area that I can pick is the area of the leadership. Where I usually have issues mainly with my subordinates, those that are supposed to work under me. So I normally have issues with them, but I've been able to gain one or two leadership skills, which I plan to start putting in place almost immediately so that it can help me in achieving most of my tasks that has been given to me. Which then also I would like to look at the area, which I normally have issues with, which is area of negotiation with my vendors. I've been able to get one or two skills which can help me in having a very good negotiating skills. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much. Yemiti.
Hello?
Yes, Yemisi, go ahead. It's your turn. You are still muted. Unmute before you start talking. Is Yemisi still there? I'm sure she'll come back in. So let me take Chris Onu.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Okay, I'm sorry for coming in late. I went for a burial. I was trying to join on the way using my phone, but it was difficult. And I was seeing most of the updates on effort others were making, so I just kept mute. Well, I took so many things, and I'm even already practicing.
Yeah.
I've been on FM manager, but I didn't know because I wasn't acquainted with, but I started practicing. Most of the thing is what I take in outside what several other person has stated is quick reporting. That give updates, report your activities as quick as possible, so that someone will not be taking your glory.
Super. All right. Thank you so much. Excellent.
Thanks.
Chimeze has spoken, so we'll go to MM.
Can I talk now?
Yes, please. Let me see. Hold on. Let MM finish. I'll come back to you once MM is.
Okay.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Okay. So my take from the previous was on communication. So I tried what you said and it worked. Then also carry your clients along, always informing them on any change in their usual day-to-day activities. And also on negotiation as well. Communication is all about communication. That is a major takeout from the previous class.
Fantastic. Thank you. All right. Oluwayemisi, you can go ahead now.
It's not the same. It's about communication and to be proactive in everything that we do in FM.
That's good.
Yes.
Thank you. Kristen. Kristen Amos, are you there? Yes, go ahead. Yes, go ahead, please. Kristen Amos, we're waiting for your mute. You're still muted.
Okay. So my take from the last class, right?
Yes.
Okay, well, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Yeah, so well, I actually learned some certain things from the previous lecture in terms of the procurement and negotiating the skills, and also you talked about the competency skill of an FM that has to do with managing both human and material resource in order to give satisfy your clients needs or customers needs and wants. So those are actually my take. And you also talked about teamwork, because I believe as an individual or probably as a group, for you to actually achieve success, you need to carry people along as well. You need to work hand in hand. You need to work hand to hand with people and other folks in order to do what is expected of you. So that's what I actually take from the last class. But you made mention of quite a whole lot of things, and so but I just don't want to dwell on them because of the time.
Yes. The idea of the takeaway is to be sure that you can apply something immediately. There's something that strikes you. That's what we want to get. So it's a lot that goes on in every class. Okay, Emmanuel Taiwo.
Okay, sir. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
So my take home for the last class was the aspect of technology. So as a facility manager, I was able to go along the trend of technology, because nowadays there are smart buildings and everywhere. So you understand the technology in which is involved in your building. And also in finance, I was able to develop and manage and oversee your financial budget in the facility aspect. Not that you you quote for something, you go back to your client for maybe inflation or something. We're able to put everything into consideration before you put down your budget. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you very much. Chaos has spoken, so go to Mayawa Guntala. Mayawa, your audio is not coming through.
Good evening, class.
Good evening.
Good evening. All right, sir. My take home last week was on communication, because you made mention of something that we need to communicate in a way that it will reach and achieve results. So that was one of the things that I took home. And also on human factor, I noticed no one talked about that. Human factor, we are working with humans here, and their safety, their health, and also their well-being is also to be considered during working also. And also the sustenance of the environment. We should not use our own work to disturb or affect negatively the environment. Also on leadership, to inspire, and you said inspire to just lead. We should be work as a leader, because we'll be able to lead our bosses and like that. And also on the CV, I'm still working on it, because you gave us a video, and I've not finished watching it actually, but I will plan doing that probably late this evening, sir. All right, thanks, sir.
Thank you for working on that.
Thank you for working on that. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Okay. We've had Temi talk by Chaos. Now give to Kabwe. Please go ahead.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Oh, okay. Of all the things being said, the only thing that struck me the most was on communication, because my own school of thought, I kind of believe that you employed me for something. At least you give me the chance to kind of prove myself. And I have this kind of boss that always wants us to report at any moment. Any action you want to take, you just have to report, give him a report, let him be aware of what you want to do. To any decision you want to make or take, he has to be well reported to, he has to be well known about it. But me from the other hand, I'm kind of a little bit stubborn. I have to do what I have to do. There sometimes it needs an immediate decision that I have to take before getting to you. But when you get to hear of it, you get angry, you get pissed off. But after like that Thursday's training, well, I decided to change. I decided to take on that part, to communicate to him at any moment in time. And from that yesterday, I think we started relating well, because I think I started communicating, giving him information about what what I want to do at any moment in time. And that changed a lot between both of us. And that is it for me.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much. Let's have Daniel. Daniel's just coming in. Chaos has spoken. Okay, Taufik, can we hear from you? Then we go with Tom and Jubril. So if what you're going to say has already been said, because I believe with 2 hours of discussion, there should be enough for everybody to say 1 minute each, right? So if what you're going to say has already been said, just say yes, I align with what's been said, so we don't waste time, all right?
Yes, sir. They already mentioned my point.
Okay. Tom.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My take home the other day was that the FM should be a people's person. They should have some procurement skills. They should be able to research every problem and of course the solutions as well. The FM should also be open to improvement areas.
Okay.
For example, the story of one of us was very striking, which he had his GM always praising him, but the MD was pointing out areas that he needed to improve upon.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I got striking that day.
All right, that's good. That's good. Thank you. Jibril.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Yeah, my take home basically was from the FM skills. The one that was really particular about that you made mention, the report writing skills and the approval writing, because most times we need to do, as in my own line, you need to do mails, you need to get approval for something to be done, for payment to be made. And if you have not if your writing skills or your report writing skills is not that good, you get your superior questioning your competence and your ability to work. And the other one I picked again was the time value for money. Every day, if we have issues, we should report it, and so that we get the value, you know how to do your budgeting. Because if you go to account at the end of every financial year, you need to plan strategic planning for the next year for all your facilities and all your equipment and all your you have the consumables for your sites. And if you are not on top of all these things, it can actually hinder you. So those skills are actually quite needed for an FM officer. I picked them because as you said in the last class too, as much as you're getting the prices from your vendors, you need to analyze them so that you come at a midpoint. So you have a high end, you have a low end, and you have a midpoint. So when you're meeting your manager or your superior, and when you break it down, last year we got this price, there's a value increase in the market at this percentage, he will say that you're on top of your game with all your stuff. It brings you out in a bright light to the organization and to all your other team members. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we're going to have Moses and then Daniel. Daniel, go ahead.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening, welcome.
Okay. All right, what I picked up last time, even though most people have actually spoken about almost everything we touched about, but most importantly for me, one thing that struck me was that as an FM, at every point in time, you're expected to be knowledgeable in everything you do, everything that has to do with your job. You're supposed to be knowledgeable in it so that you're able to carry through with your leadership, your job task and everything, and make sure you know this like the back of your palms and deliver your job as best as you can. For me, being knowledgeable in all you do is the best for you as an FM. That's what I picked.
Thank you. All right, so Madam Chiri, you want to give us your takeaway from the last class if it's different from what's been said?
Well, good afternoon, everybody. I think it's been said by almost everyone, particularly the area of communication. Yes, thank you.
Fantastic, fantastic. All right, good. So this afternoon we have Mr. Wine Okwamen. He's joining us in the class. It's his first class today. So Mr. Wine, you want to give us your introduction? Tell us your name, where you work, what you do there. Give us your background and how many years experience in the workspace.
Okay,
Thank you very much. Good evening. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
As earlier said, my name is Wayne Okpame. I work at Just Commercial Vehicles. I'm an auto technician. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, your audio is good.
Okay. I'm an auto technician. So I have left for FM management. Before I pick a job as an auto technician, I've been doing some of FM stuff.
Good.
Before entering auto technician. I have a background of environmental science, a diploma in environmental science. So I want to take FM job to the next level by getting a certificate, by getting certified on FM.
Very good.
So I believe Max-Migold is an avenue to get that. And I'm happy to be in your midst too.
Thank you. You're welcome. Fantastic. Okay, now that we have taken care of those introductions and lessons learned from the last class, there is an order of business that we normally do in the third class. We would ask you to, within the next 1 week, think about who you want to be your class governor. And by this time next Saturday, we will take nominations. I usually take nominations by receiving a WhatsApp message from you. So it's going to be a message to me. The number is 080-220-20122. That's the official number, 080-220-20122. When I receive who you all want to be the class governor, I will just do a tally and I will do the appointment live in class on Saturday. We've had class governors for every class, so the last class 12, and we will need a class governor for class 13. Before our graduation ceremony, which is our major alumni gathering point in early December, we will hold an alumni council, which is going to be made up of all the 13 class governors. And then we are going to roll out 13 plans for the alumni group and career advancement. We already have about 250 people in there. By the time we graduate this class and add to that, we're rising as quickly as we can. Our goal is to get to alumni of 1,000 as quickly as possible. And I think we're going to get to it, okay? So, you know, that's why we show our faces. That's why we talk, interact, and all that. So you pick up a name from among your colleagues, you drop it for me, and then I will make the announcement, right? It could be male, it could be female, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter whether it's male or female. Have we ever had a female class governor? That's interesting. I'm not sure you have. I'm not putting ideas into your head, but that's it. So please send me a nomination, right? So if I don't get any nomination, I'll just appoint. All right. Now we're going to deal with two things. First, I would ask if you had a work challenge, technical professional issue that you need help with. That's our solution session. We could do that for about 10 minutes. And then there is a subtopic that I want to present to you, the proactive FM. I'll drop that in before I go into the maintenance strategies, which is our class for today. So the first thing is, what is the technical issue or professional or career issue you want us to address for you today? We'll take, if your hand's up, we'll ask you what that issue is, and then we can treat it right now. Okay, we have one. So I think we're going to drive straight into it. Can you run with that?
Hello?
Yes, you're clear now.
Hello?
Yes, we hear you.
Hello? Okay.
We hear you, go ahead.
Okay, so my major work problem right now is income generation, because I am the facility manager of an estate, and we are having issues with diesel consumption.
Mm-hmm.
So we find ourselves spending more on diesel than we're actually making from that. So I don't know if this platform is okay. That's the major thing.
it's a very, very big matter to resolve. And we're going to discuss. I know that between all of us here, we have at least 150 years experience. I'm sure we'll be able to deal with that right away. So, how to deal with energy losses, isn't it?
Yes.
And rising energy costs in residential. Ibaba,
Yeah.
Abba Emmanuel. If I say Emmanuel E and Emmanuel T, that will bail me out, isn't it?
Yes, yes, it will. You can say Emmanuel E or Emmanuel T.
Yes, that will save me. Yes, good. So Emmanuel E, go ahead.
Okay, so I do have a couple of work problems I would really love assistance with. First of all, I wanted to know from experience, especially those with experience, between hiring an in-house plumber and having one on contract where you basically can hand out jobs to, which is more cost effective. Because I'm having a situation whereby there are months when I have a lot of plumbing problems. I call out the contract plumbers, and there are months when I don't have any issues. The issues I tend to have are minor things that I myself can even touch and fix. But so I wanted to know from experience, would you say would the house say it's better to have an in-house plumber or hire from outside once in a while?
Okay.
Also, I think I have another problem. It has to do with documentation. I'm very much concerned about the documents that ought to be in place. Like I asked it in the last class, if I could get a list of documents. If you are going into a new place, a new facility as a facility manager, what are the documents you would ask for? What are the documents that you think are necessary for you to have with you? Because where I presently work, it doesn't really exist. So I'm thinking of how to create one.
Okay. For now, just get your asset register intact. We'll get to it in the next class, okay? That one is, and then we have a class that will take care of what we call operational readiness and commissioning, where we'll have all the documentations in their numbers to deal with, okay? So the first one is a work problem. The second one is a training issue that's already covered in the course. Anthony.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, please go ahead.
I have a couple of, I'll just dwell on two out of it. Number one is, I think the documents that I use to be put in place as an SM in a new assignment or in a new office. That is number one. Then number two.
Emmanuel, you have to repeat that number one again. I didn't quite get it.
Okay. Number one, I said, what are the necessary documentation that I needed to be, that is needed to be put in place, in my new assignment or in my new office?
I just dealt with that. That was Emmanuel E's second question that we kind of deferred it. We'll deal with it in more details, right? But for now, go get your asset register and as-built drawings.
Documentation that we mentioned. You understand, sir?
Asset register and as-built drawings. Start with that now. Now. Asset register and as-built drawings.
Okay, sir. All right, sir. Then number two, sir. Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah.
Okay, now my number two is this, sir. I'm always having difficulties in the vendors that I use. Most of I have an in-house electrician, I have an in-house plumber, but the other vendors, mainly carpentry, I always find it very difficult getting, I will not say competent because they are competent, but the issue is that, when something goes wrong and you needed them to come back and fix it, it becomes a problem.
Yeah.
But what I normally do is that I hold on to a bit of their money so I can force them to come back. But when you do this and hold on to their money and they eventually grumbly coming back to come and fix it, when you call them again to come and help you, they will refuse to come.
Okay, thank you.
You have, okay, sir.
Yes, so we have three issues. Energy costs, efficiency, energy cost recovery, high cost of diesel, how to recover those energy costs. That's MM's question, right? So if I understand it correctly, You spend so much more than you get in collections. Okay. Who wants to help?
Hello, sir.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. I believe that what they needed to do first, based on the little experience that I've gotten, I've had before, they are supposed to separate the diesel account from the normal other service. So anytime you notice that you are, because like what I did in the previous place I've worked before was they pay a service charge. I don't remove a 10% service charge initially. I remove it at the end of the service year. At the end of the service year, if there's going to be any deficit, there are documentation on ground that can back up those deficits. That is what I do. But I know that most companies tend to remove the 10% immediately they pay the service charge. So at the end of the year, you definitely be having issues filing and getting your money back. But once you remove your service charge, you are able to at least. Okay. All right. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Let me just go straight to some issues that are common across locations, and I'll ask MM some questions. Answer them as briefly as possible. Do you have meters for all your tenants or residents or subunits?
Yes.
You have
Yes.
meters. Good.
Yes.
Are those meters dual? Do they meter public supply separately and a separate meter for generator?
Just 1 meter for both.
Does that 1 meter separately the two?
No, it's just
The
1 meter that
continuously.
works.
Okay,
Yes.
1 meter that works. So all power comes through that meter, right?
Yes, sir.
Your tariff, is it hybrid or 2 different tariff?
It's the same tariff for both.
Hybrid.
No, 1.
I know that. What I mean by hybrid is, you know that the public supply is cheaper than diesel production, diesel generation.
Oh, yes.
But you give them a single tariff.
We use 1 tariff. I don't understand the question.
Okay, so if power from Eco or Ikeja is 30
Yes.
naira, right?
Yes.
Power from my generator cannot be 30 naira per kilowatt hour, right?
Yes.
How do you decide the tariff that you use to bill your clients? Is it based on the public supply rates, the diesel cost per kilowatt rate, or an average?
It's on an average, a fixed amount. We are charging 87 per kilowatt.
87 naira, okay, that's hybrid, very
Yes.
good. 87 naira per kilowatt is hybrid, very good. Now, for how long have you been on 87 naira per kilowatt?
Almost a year now. Okay, let's say 6 months.
Okay, now, when you started at 87 naira per kilowatt, were you recovering your costs?
It wasn't as bad as this.
Okay, so this is how to structure such a contract. A hybrid tariff, if all the occupants accept it, is a plus. You've already scaled above a certain level, right? So FM that still have to deal with 2 bills, 1 for electricity, 1 for diesel and generator. They still have a bigger struggle than you. So if they have accepted a hybrid tariff, that's fine. What you needed to have built into that contract, that energy, so your service level agreements, with your management service agreement, should be different from your energy management agreement completely. It is in the energy management agreement that you have the rates for a harmonized or hybrid tariff, which is your rate you charge. That agreement should show in what circumstances will this tariff be adjusted, right? If diesel moves from 210 naira to 240 naira, right? The percentage change in diesel costs should automatically reflect on the tariff. If public supply moves from 29 naira per kilowatt hour to 34 naira per kilowatt hour, the percentage change in public tariff should automatically reflect on your tariff, right? So you plan a contract that people sign up to that says there should be regular adjustments based on the factors that lead to this cost, which is called cost driver-based contracting, right? So that needs to be revised. If you don't already have that and you have to now come back to the client all the time to say, let's have a meeting, let's defend the new rate, you are going to have this issue again and again and again and again. Right now, I think you are trying to get them to raise it to like how much, 120?
No, 98.
98, yes. But they're going to fight back, isn't it? Yes. So if you manage to get them to accept this raise now, right? Revise the contracts. I can help you with a revised contract. You just wet my beak, right? And that contract is going to, who's laughing? You don't think I survived? that contract is going to say that if diesel moves up or down, your tariff will move up or down. If public supply moves up or down, your tariff will move up or down. We work out using a model. I use Excel to create that model, right? I put all your costs in there, and then I will do some kind of analysis where I adjust the cost up and down for each of these parameters. For example, your 87 naira can move by 1 naira per percentage increase in diesel, for example. 1 naira per percentage. You get? It could move at 1 naira per 2 naira increase in public supply. Now, those analyses are things you do on some spreadsheet and come up with something that your users will accept. It will be so easy for them to accept that, so that when, they're buying through a vending system right now, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes. So whenever there is that change, what you just do is you send a notification to them, 30 days notice, which the contract already says that when there's a change, we'll give you 30 days notice, right? On what is the change, and invoke the contract clause that applies the adjustment. You understand? By the time it is 30 days, you just adjust the rate inside the vending machine, inside the vending system, without much ado, okay? So, and then the other point that you normally will face is how to pay for your common area usage. Many FM companies run estates where they've not metered common area utility consumption separately. They hope that when they make collections from people based on the rate they agree, they will be able to cover the costs. No, that's not correct. The energy consumed in common areas is built into service charge. So if you're going to provide us water, you're going to provide us other maintenance activities on the site, street lights and the rest. Those things will be built into service charge. So if I pay my service charge of a certain amount, maybe 50,000 a month, for example, I have already paid you, the FM company, the cost of running the street lights, okay? So you now need to meter your street lights and buy your own tokens to run the street lights from your service charge collections, just the way every person buys his tokens to run his street lights. If you look at the common area consumption, you might realize that you are not fully accountable in every bit to those. That's another area where people have issues. Do you have your common area consumption metered and built separately?
No.
Fantastic. So that's a lost point. So you need to put that into your service charge budget and account for it. So these two are strategies you can apply immediately. Revise your contracts for energy management and then add common area energy consumption to service charge.
Thank you.
Okay, so next problem is the in-house versus vendor plumber.
Sir, sorry to take you back. You only gave a scenario of the hybrid tariff system. So what about if it's the other way around? What about if let's just treat it at once?
Let's compound the problem with another scenario. Go ahead.
No, assuming it's not a hybrid tariff system.
Yes.
Is the other way around. How do we treat such scenario? That's what I want to get.
If it's not a hybrid tariff system, you have to ensure that your metering is double, either a single dual meter or 2 meters per unit. Because you cannot manage what you cannot measure. You have to measure, right? So that's the way around it. But now, for those of you who already have spaces that has been wired with a single line source to each unit, right? Don't worry. We have IoT sensors now that we can take the same reading from each of those meters and give you 2 readings. You know what we'll do? We'll put a sensor on the incoming of both sources. You know your changeover changes between electricity and diesel, right? And it's a central changeover, which means once the changeover changes, everybody gets one source. So your meter is always taking whatever light comes in, independent of the source. What we'll now do is we will now build a back-end dashboard that automatically changes. So when we change, the sensor will notify that dashboard that it is now generator. And from that moment, whatever is read will be attributed to your generator accounts. When you change back to NEPA, the sensor will say, oh, NEPA is back on and power is now receiving from NEPA. We will now change, it will now change whatever the meter reads to NEPA. So we can have 1 meter reading from 1 cable that you have in your house. And on the back end software, we are showing you measurements of what you consume in 2 sources. So that's possible now, okay? So that's a solution that we can provide for anybody having
what's
that.
What's the name of the sensor, please?
IoT, there are all kinds of sensors, When it comes to Internet of Things, there are all kinds of sensors. We have LoRaWAN sensors, we have GSM, GPRO sensors. There are different things, because what a sensor basically does is it's clamped around the cable and it reads signals. It's not intrusive, right? And those signals are transferred into a computer, into the cloud. It is in the cloud we do all the magic.
Okay.
So yeah.
Thank you.
All right. So I moved to the in-house versus vendor. See, Mr. Emmanuel E., you need to have a database of historical plumbing activities. How many plumbing tasks have been accomplished in the last 12 months, per month, per week, right? You need to use objective numbers to quantify hours spent on plumbing, work orders that have been done by plumbing, and the costs, okay? And then also do an appraisal of how your plumbing effectiveness has been over this period. If you feel you have better control over in-house technicians, does the commercial and the quantity of work justify having an in-house technician? Right? So without data, we can't solve that problem. If you come to me as management and say, oh, I want to hire a plumber, right? I'll ask you why. And you cannot give me your feelings as the reason you want to hire a plumber. Okay? So you have to back up your position with, we've had total work orders, 1,100 in the last 12 months, an average of 100 work orders per month. This is the total number of hours that has gone into plumbing work in this building or estate. This is the total number of amount we paid, total plumbing costs per work order, per month, per week, and so on and so forth. I'm going to create all that to say, I'm making a case for, allow me hire a plumber, I'll save so much based on our historical data, and then I'll have more control. I will now use that, besides the savings, I will now increase service levels because I'll have this person under my control. Again, you can also add the fact that I can constrain him to do other tasks in the facility, and it will reduce pressure and need for hiring more people in the areas that we currently have hired people. You could say all of that, but you have to back them with numbers. If you don't already have numbers now, start now to quantify what your plumbing work is, so you can make a case for I want to hire, I don't want to hire. The last, yes.
Yeah, I have similar issue in my place of work, whereby my colleagues complain that an in-house plumbing. So my facility manager asked us that we should go and quantify all the plumbing works we've been doing for the past 1 year and evaluate the cost. So at the end of that, when we finish the evaluation, when we divided the money in 12 months, it's not even up to 60,000. So my boss said there is no need for employing an in-house plumber. What we now do is we now find like 3 plumbing vendors. So when we call one is not available, we call the other one. So when they know there is competition, they are like 3. So anytime you call them, even if it's not available, you have to struggle and find get himself in our facility. So that was how we did that. Not all the time you employ a plumber.
Super. That's a good best practice. Another best practice again is to place a plumber on a service level agreement contract that has a retainer attached, right? If you respond to me within 3 hours, every time I call you, at the end of the month, you already have a 10,000 naira award every month. 10,000 is waiting for you if you respond to me every time within 3 hours you're here, right? I can have that kind of contract, and they will be on their beck and call. They want to end that 10K at the end of the month. Before you even finish saying what you are saying, they're already in your front of your gate. So all kinds of things we can create to improve efficiencies instead of going straight to hiring. All right.
Sorry, sir. Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening, Jibril. Go ahead.
Yeah. On the plumbing issue, based on my own experience, because with the way you described one of our classes, where you have been on these 2 sides of the coin. You have been underemployment and you have been a contractor too.
Yes.
What we did in my own place of work back then, that we had an SLA with a company that has all these technicians, and they bring them on site. So we had somebody that was on electrical, plumbing, and gen. Now for the plumbing, because it's a workspace I used to manage back then, and we had about maybe 15 toilets or 16 in a building, the rate at which plumbing issue were popping up in the morning, especially, you wouldn't be able to a vendor to come all the way to VI to come. So we had in-house, and we had consumers booths were already in the store. So he is on ground, he does real-time repair. Then for the water treatment plant and the sewage treatment plant, we did another SLA because it's all linked to water, overhead tanks. Those ones can be resolved through vendor coming in. But you can come to a site in the morning as an FM, and there's a burst pipe in the toilet at 7:30 or 6 a.m. And your customers, your stakeholders, who are your in-house stakeholders, will want to make use of that restroom. And if they see water on the floor, they go to the next one. They see water. If there's nobody on ground to nip it in the bud, because if you call out your vendor, he will tell you, okay, I'm here. It'll take me 3 hours to get there. So that was the way we handled it back then.
Now, let me give you a caveat to that, Jibril. The moment such occurrences become too many in your site, it's an evidence of negligence.
Okay.
Negligence is not existing. Let me tell you something. And that's the next point I will go into. I want to teach you a 5 levels at which you can operate proactively. So hold that thought. I'll get to it after taking the
All right, sir. All right.
So vendor management, somebody wants to hold vendors' money to get them back again. Please don't. It's illegal. If a vendor has worked, pay him off. Especially if the contract says he will be paid at the end of the job. If there's a payment term for 30 days, 60 days, whatever, please stick with the payment terms. If there is a defect liability period that you need to hold a 5 or 10%.
10%, yes.
Yes, please, let it be in contract. Don't arbitrarily hold the vendor's money as a way to get them back on site to fix the next problem. Okay, so I think that takes care of that. Use contracts to deal with issues. Use contracts. I have written contracts for vendors that have worked for years. Because of the contract, they walked away. For real, they left. And I was at peace because the headache was too much. So get as many vendors as possible. Let them see the contract they'll be signing up to, okay? Discuss it, negotiate it, agree with it. And please use contracts. Contract can just be a simple 2-page that tells service expectation, the objective of this service, the scope of work of this service, the specifications in terms of call-out times and expectation in terms of service quality and attention to details. You just put some things there that worries you, things that concerns you, put it in there and say, these are contracts, so sign, I sign, you get a copy, I get my copy. Use that to manage vendors, okay? If you want to hold your money, let it also be there. Okay, so quickly, I'm going to get into this 5 levels of FM, or should I move it to the next class I'm going to be with you? Okay, let me move it to the next class because of what we have to cover for today. I'll talk about the 5 levels of proactivity in another class. I want to spend at least 20 minutes on it, so I won't do it today so that I will not rush through it because of today's class. So I'm going to take a 5-minute break and come back and enter straight into maintenance strategies. Thank you very much. All right, we're back. In this class, we're going to look at 3 strategies for managing maintenance. The run to failure strategy, the preventive strategy, and the predictive strategy. As we introduce ourselves into maintenance strategies and talk about the pros and cons, advantages, disadvantages, and the features of each of these strategies, let's try and understand that maintenance can either be planned or unplanned. So when we talk about types of maintenance, there are just 2, planned or unplanned maintenance. But when we come to strategies for maintenance, we have more. Okay, so that's where we talk about the run to failure, 3 of them. Run to failure is the unplanned, so the unplanned maintenance type. It uses the run to failure strategy. There are very many variations to this strategy, which we're going to talk about, but it is the principal strategy when you are when you are doing unplanned maintenance. Then the planned maintenance operates with 2 key strategies. One is the planned preventive maintenance, and the other one is the predictive maintenance. So both preventive and predictive are both planned type of maintenance. And we're going to look at all the information that will help us think about maintenance from the standpoint of why we do maintenance. Many of us are exposed to how we do maintenance. So basically, when you buy an equipment, you read the manual, it tells you, do this at this time, do that at this time. When it tells this fault, check here, check that, look for this signal and do this and that, right? Those are all how to do maintenance. And how to do maintenance is part of the tactical and operational aspect of maintenance. But why we do those things that have been prescribed, why those steps have been prescribed is what strategy is talking about. So the why of maintenance is superior to the how of maintenance. If all you know is how, and you've not learned why those hows were prescribed, then there's a shortfall. And so that's what this class is trying to close. In this class, you will learn why we do maintenance in certain ways. And then you become a master of that knowledge and skill. You will not be able to tweak, manipulate, create your own how to suit your own equipment, assets, organization, and not be stuck with hows that you have learned, hook, line, and sinker. Okay? Each of these strategies we'll be talking about will be applied at the level of individual assets. So if I have a building, I can't call that an asset. As a facility manager, a building is not an asset. The generator is an asset. The lift, the elevator is an asset, and so on and so forth. I will study these strategies, and based on my understanding of the strategy and the assets, I will decide which strategy will best meet the requirements of that asset. Once I have done that, I will now move into the how, which is the maintenance planning, which we'll get to in another class. Okay, so it's asset by asset. I put a strategy for maintaining my roof. I put another strategy for maintaining my generator. They may not be the same strategy. What did I consider before choosing the strategy I applied for my roof versus the one I applied for my generator. That's what we're going to be looking at in these three strategies: run to failure, preventive, and predictive. Now, but multiple assets make up my portfolio. So my complex, my shopping mall, for example, or multiple schools or hospitals or whatever sites I have, it makes up my portfolio. With every asset, I choose a strategy. But my selection of strategies should be based on a certain philosophy, which we call reliability-centered maintenance. Reliability-centered maintenance does not look at individual assets. That's what a strategy does. It looks at how we mix and choose, pick and choose strategies for different assets to give an overall high level of reliability and low cost. That's what ROCM is about. And we're going to talk about ROCM as well. So these are the 4 things we're going to be looking at in this class. So pay attention, take notes, and then, of course, you already have the material. But why do we talk maintenance strategy? We want our equipment to be, or assets to be available and safe. We want to reduce downtime. If an equipment or asset is not available, it means it's suffering downtime. We want to ensure reliability. It's available and it's serving its purpose. We want to reduce time it takes and the cost it takes for maintaining it. We want to ensure it performs, not working sluggishly, working optimally. The repairs that we do on it and the overhauling and all those upgrades that we do, we want to make sure that it's optimized, which means we don't want to overspend on equipment repairs. And of course, we want to get continuous value for that investment. And the value will be higher if we can use the equipment or assets for longer, you'll agree. Okay, so unplanned downtime and unplanned repairs are all part of the reasons why we're trying to learn strategy. This is what will make you different from people who didn't come for this program. Most people who are doing maintenance very well out there have not taken the time to learn maintenance strategy. So they do what they have been told to do. And they don't have much control over the tweaks that they can do. And that's why you see many of us fight with management. When management says, we can't keep spending that money again. You say, oh, no. It's important for us to do that maintenance, whether you like it or not, bring the money for us to do it. Management say we cannot afford it. Will that get you thinking and start telling yourself, how else can I do this? What other strategy can I deploy? Because you know strategy. If you don't know strategy, you'll be stuck, you'll be fighting, and you'll be kicked out. For each strategy, we're going to learn the methods, the goals, the advantages and disadvantages. And we're going to evaluate all the maintenance strategy options, how to select the right strategies, and how to take decisions about strategy before we acquire. You know, if you already acquired, you already made one mistake. If you had options before you acquired an asset, and you did not consider maintenance strategy and how you're going to implement the strategy and the steps that come out of that strategy before you do the acquisition, you might have made a big mistake. It's important to know that there is a good understanding of, it's important that there is a good understanding of how equipment fails in order to make a good choice of the appropriate maintenance strategy, okay? When you now understand strategy, you now need to choose and allocate strategies. So when I told you a while ago that you should go and get your asset register, we're going to talk about more of that in the next class, which Mr. Emmanuel is going to be taking. But one of the things I want you to put in your asset register is the maintenance strategy for every asset. Okay, how do you choose that strategy? What available resources are there? What organizational maintenance practice are there? Funds in your hands as working funds? Do you have to go through a rigmarole bureaucracy? And so on and so forth. What are the budgeting systems you have in place to make sure that maintenance can happen? What technology do you have in place? What's the cost, type of equipment itself, the main strategy you're going to apply? What kind of personnel skills do you have? What assets do you have to skills? If you have to adopt a strategy that requires a very high-tech approach, like I'll talk about the strategies when we go on, but you need to think about the skills and the training you have for your team. And then the quality of service and the expectations of your customer. Sometimes you understand strategy and you try to do strategy adoption in terms of allocating strategy, like you want to make some tweaks in your strategy for various assets. You might meet some pushback. I remember one time when a client said the cost of maintaining air conditioners was too much. Let's cut it down. And they gave a very huge margin to cut it down to. I presented the case of a strategy. We can switch from preventive maintenance to maintenance or run to failure. Because I understood strategy, I gained invaluable data on how air conditioners work in Lagos from that experience that ran for more than a year. I'll talk about it when we get into individual strategies. But management may lack understanding about the strategy elements. Sometimes we ourselves don't have the information and skills about strategy, which of course is common among FMs. And then some strategies require that you have budget allocated. In fact, all strategies require that you have budget allocated. But allocating budget for maintenance could be a struggle sometimes when management see maintenance from the standpoint of if it ain't broken, don't fix it, right? It aligns with one of the strategies, but not for all assets, right? So how do I communicate that? Look, SARS, MAS, we need to select some assets away from that strategy of if it ain't broken, don't fix it, right? And then your maintenance resources. Not all organizations will allow you to just employ and fill up the whole place, right? So some strategies require that you have a standby people. Some strategies will require that you work with, remote teams and ad hoc contractors. And then sometimes your strategy may not be aligned with management strategy. If you're picking a strategy that requires you to spend money regularly, whereas management is trying to safeguard funds and reduce their borrowing to run the business, you might be at loggerheads with management, trying to spend all the time. Okay, so if you understand what an organizational strategy is, especially with managing of funds or headcounts and things like that, you might deploy strategies that feeds and supports organizational strategy, so you don't have that misalignment. And then inadequate maintenance planning. Many people just do maintenance according to how it comes to them. Some have a schedule of things that needs to be done, but they don't do it, and they keep reacting. Maintenance goes hand in hand with an organization's objectives, and so there must be a clear understanding of maintenance objectives to ensure proper allocation of maintenance resources. So to our first strategy, run to failure. This strategy is also called reactive strategy. It's also called corrective maintenance strategy. It's also called emergency maintenance strategy. It's also called any name you give it, provided you didn't plan to do anything until you see a fault. That is run to failure strategy. You take action to repair equipment after it has failed, or after it has shown a fault, an obvious fault that we can describe as a malfunction. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's no longer operable. An equipment can still be operating, but the noise level is now unbearable, or the vibration is now too much, or some things are now falling apart, or oil is now dripping from somewhere, right? It has already qualified for run to failure because it means that you saw something wrong and then you came in to fix it. You restore the equipment intended function when it fails. It can be cost effective for small equipment, but very costly for complex and critical equipment. This is the philosophy of repair that says, when it breaks down, you fix it. If it doesn't break, don't fix it. Now, I think I know you must be thinking right now. So why would somebody deliberately adopt a strategy that says, let it break, and then I'll fix. Sounds like an illogical proposition. But if you think about all the assets in your asset register, you will find out that more than 90%, in fact, a clear 96% of your assets listed will benefit from this strategy. In the building where I'm sitting right now, I know that I can list certain elements of my asset register. There is a roof, there is ceiling, there are light fittings, there are pictures, paintings on the wall, there are mirrors, TVs, refrigerators, there are cupboards or shelves, tables and chairs. There's a table light, a laptop, my phone, water heater, air conditioner. I probably have listed about 15 items, right? Of course, I didn't add the windows, the window blind, the wall painting, the floor tiles. These are all part of my assets. Everything that I list in my asset register are supposed to be in my maintenance plan. But wait for this. Of all these 15 to 20 items I have listed now that are in my asset register for this space I'm in, only one item will not be suitable for run to failure. And that is my air conditioner. In fact, I have experienced running the air conditioner on run to failure before. And I can tell you for a fact that from brand new, a typical AC will work for up to 25 months without breaking down. From brand new, if you don't do any routine maintenance on it. Work for up to 25 months. All it needs from you is to get the cleaners to clean out those indoor fins. You know, the fins that has moss, your dead skin and dust build up inside. That'll probably make the AC struggle. If that can be washed out every, just that indoor filter. Average 25 to 30 months, in fact, you won't have a single problem. And you would have saved all of those quarterly maintenance costs. When they start having problems, they have problems at a rate of 1 in 10. Starting with capacitors, remotes. You have issues sometimes. Compressor is very rare. In fact, the average compressor will do 5 years straight without even going off. Right? So I could as well put it in run to failure. All I need to do if I'm doing run to failure, if my SLA is so high that I cannot have an AC off for more than 2 hours, then I'll buy 10% of the number of ACs after the first 20 months and put them in store. So I wouldn't even bother to fix the AC when it starts failing 1 in 10. I'll take it out and put a brand new one and go and fix the other one and put it back in store. So I always have a turnaround time of 1 hour to change ACs, especially if they are split units. So I could run this whole facility on run to failure strategy, and I'll be perfect in my maintenance approach. Sounds crazy, right? So you're basically responding to calls, you're localizing the problem, you disassemble, you fix it, you put it back. It's useful for complex maintenance procedure. Some procedures are so complex that you don't need to start fiddling with them. Many of us have wristwatches. If you open the back of a wristwatch, you see complex things doing their thing in there. Don't go trying to service your wristwatch. Let it fail, you fix it. If you have used electric sewing machines, for the ladies and men in the house who know about sewing machines, my wife has some of those machines in the house. The first time I saw her pouring a whole gallon of oil into that box on the machine, I was like, oh goodness, what's this about? Is the machine now burning fuel? It was run to failure strategy. There's no maintenance that machine needs. And because the machine has too many moving parts, that could go rusted, that could start having friction and start having wear and tear. They virtually sink the machine into oil so you can work for as long as possible without having problem, right? So complex maintenance procedure also affect things like transformers, high tension panels, synchronization panels, and some of those things that they are better left alone. You don't go dismantling things and taking out all those gaskets and trying to put glues back that don't fit it to put it back before you start seeing leaking all over the place. You've created a problem that there was no problem before in the name of maintenance. So when it's complex, just leave it alone. Growing up those days, we went for a tour to a glass factory. And, so we, out of curiosity, what's this? How do you maintain this furnace? And the manager laughed and said, from the day the furnace is put on, it takes almost, in fact, from their experience, the furnace ran for 18 years before it was put off for maintenance once. And it takes weeks to cool down enough for that maintenance to start. And when they are done and they put it back on, it takes weeks, even months, for you to get to the temperature for us to get back into production. Is that the one you want to be giving quarterly maintenance program for? Please don't. When PPM and other strategies are expensive, you leave it alone. Even when the equipment is sophisticated, like safe doors, computers and servers and many expensive things. Easy to replace components. Your light bulbs. What maintenance do you want to do on your light bulb or fitting? Is left alone because the day it goes off, you just pick it up and put back. So run to failure is what you're adopting there. Equipment where failure has minimal impact. A cracked window, for example. There's a line across the glass in the window. That's not an emergency. I don't need to start coming to apply certain things on the window to prevent that crack from happening. The crack happens, it's a fault, I deal with it. No life is threatened. My business will continue if that crack happens today. I can even give myself a week in service level to deal with that cracked glass, right? So when it's equipment, it has minimal impact. Yes, when failure has minimal impact, of course I can live with it for a while. I can live to see the problem and then fix it. There's a fifth element that needs to be added here, and I think I need to add that right away. When you have redundant systems, please make that note. A redundant system is a system that you call a backup, an N+1, N+2 strategy for certain networks or nodes you have in your asset. For example, when you have your water treatment and water pumping mechanism set up, and you have the main pump that does all the pushing. You now have the backup pump connected with valves that are controlled, such that if this pump fails, you just turn the valves to activate the next pump, and then you can disassemble this pump and go and fix it and come and put it back on. Or you're in a server room where you need two horsepower air conditioners, but you have 4 mounted, and 2 work at a time, which means it's N+1, 2 with 1 idle. For such ACs, you don't need any kind of preventive maintenance, because all you do is when the ones that are working fails, you trigger up any one among the ones that are in the spare, hooked up, connected to start running. While those ones are running, you go and fix the other ones, do whatever you need to do to them, and you put them back in position, you tested them, they're okay, and they wait until these other ones fail. When you have that kind of system in place, no matter how critical ACs are for servers, you can still do it, run to failure with them. That's the beauty of this, okay? I've established that run to failure as a strategy is applicable to a majority of our assets. We've not been applying it because we've not been thinking strategy, and we've not been thinking about maintenance as things we do for assets that require this strategy. For example, We go cap in hand to management, say, give us money to repair a roof that was blown off by rain, right? Because it did not even form part of our budget in the first place for maintenance. We don't see roof as requiring maintenance, whereas generator that we maintain regularly requires maintenance, so we put a budget on it. The point here is you must have, even though you have 0 activities for run to failure assets, you must have a budget for every asset. The budget can be as low as 0, but you thought through it before you wrote 0. Conference room chairs, 20 chairs in the conference room, 50 chairs in the conference room. They are 10 years old. They've never been broken. Will they break next year? Maybe not likely. They're still very good. 0 budget. I replaced 2 pads on one this year, and I replaced 2 rollers on another one. I should estimate that I will need to do 4 pads and probably 4 rollers next year because it's getting older. I use my experience and intuition to give a trend using the gradation curve analysis, where I study the age versus the defects that happened in the past to predict how future defects will come. And then I make projections. Then I create a budget and I put it in my budget. The advantages of run to failure is that it requires minimal staff, no standby staff for run to failure. So you call a vendor to fix things. You call a supplier to bring whatever. The low cost is imminent, but it's initial, which means when it eventually breaks, the cost is no longer low because you are now desperate. You now need to act on it. And then there's not much of planning to be done apart from budgeting, because you don't even know when that activity will be needed for you to even expend that budget. So there's not much to budget about, right? No planning beyond knowing that this asset is under my watch and I must put it in my maintenance plan. And then I must reason through what I'm budgeting for it so that when I get approval for my budget for maintenance, I'm not going to come back cap in hand tomorrow to tell management, sorry, something happened and I need to fix a broken window. No, I have thought about my 400 windows in this complex and I've reasoned that I might need up to 30,000 Naira to fix broken windows as my budget for broken windows this year. I'll put it in my budget, I get approval. When it's time to spend on a broken window, I already have the resources to fix a broken window. Disadvantages include increased labor costs, because of course, you're not going to have a good bargaining point. The pay cost will be up. Your staff resources will not be efficiently used because people who are supposed to be doing the routine stuff are automatically drawn to the non-routine stuff or things that break without warning. Okay, so that's reduced reliability and effectiveness of your team. Controlling budget is also a big issue because you know when you put something in your budget, everybody expects you to spend the budget, right? But sometimes that money is not spent and you now have to struggle to justify the need to put that requirement in next year's budget. Now, that's a big job because first, people don't want you to have that money in your budget anymore because it's like padding, right? But now, the equipment that did not fail this year are now twice likely to fail next year because they're getting older. Okay, so start conservatively. I can have 0 budget for a particular maintenance item until I have the first failure. Based on that failure, I will establish a trend, and subsequent failures, I will now create a pattern and be able to, forecast future failures. That way, I will be smarter in coming up with what kind of budget to have for it, and I'll be able to defend that budget more confidently with management. Okay. The next strategy, planned or preventive maintenance. Of course, preventive is one of the planned types of maintenance. So this is preventive strategy. For preventive, this is where most people are familiar. You pick up a few assets that are so-called critical, and you put them on a list and say, this is my maintenance plan. It's not your maintenance plan, it's your preventive maintenance plan. But I'm advising you now to jettison a preventive maintenance plan in favor of a maintenance plan. So instead of picking out only items that should go for preventive maintenance and budgets based on the plans you made for the routine activities, have everything in there, have 0 activities for majority, and then you can actually feel you have regular routine activities for. So you can call that a preventive maintenance plan. That's a filter out of your maintenance. So create your maintenance plan, not deliberately creating your preventive maintenance plan, because preventive maintenance is only one strategy amongst 3 strategies, and it's applied to even fewer assets compared to other strategies that you need to have planned for yourself. You perform activities as scheduled in the intervals. These intervals could be time-based, daily, monthly, weekly, quarterly, or they could be runtime based, which is according to the clock, right? So things that have moving parts and things that have clocks for metering them or measuring them, you adopt the run rate approach. So you can have a consistent maintenance, for example, your generators, your printers, and the rest, okay? The maintenance activities that are scheduled will be performed irrespective of failure, irrespective of condition. It doesn't really matter. The preventive maintenance seeks to reduce unplanned downtime and repair costs, but it may not always detect failures before it occurs, since the approach is not condition monitoring. It focuses on performing pre-scheduled maintenance. Okay, so of course, there's a sense that you're covered for reliability and safety of the equipment. You keep records, you are able to follow manufacturers' recommendations. You stay on the safe path with this approach. Okay, so yes, you can actually enjoy that. But again, looking at the advantages and disadvantages, you can easily say this is the lazy man's approach to maintenance, especially for very expensive, high-ticket items. Okay, all those advantages of reduced risk, reduced equipment downtime, fewer repair emergencies, extended keeps equipment in good working condition for extended period, improvement in system reliability, and so on. For certain class of assets, more like doing too much. You have a standby, you have equipment and materials on standby, you are doing things on a regular basis, and you may find out at some point that you are throwing away things that can still be used. But there's a fear of stretching because it's been recommended that it should be done after these hours. Okay, even at that, equipment will still fail. And there's so many unnecessary maintenance that are being done. Every time you go to a gen that's run 200 hours, for example, and you take out all those filters and throw them away and take out the oil and change them out. If you look at if you're using a quality standard of testing to check the oil and the things you're throwing away, you probably would tell yourself, this thing can do extra 80 to 100 hours. Why am I throwing it away? Right? That's a question you have to answer for yourself. But that question is answered in the next strategy we're going to look at, because that strategy is what improves upon the preventive maintenance strategy. It's called predictive maintenance, also called condition monitoring or condition-based maintenance strategy. It does not do a set of routine maintenance tasks. No, instead, it does a set of routine evaluation of equipment condition, drawing data from multiple sources to check equipment functionalities against the operating parameters set up or established by the manufacturers. So if equipments are in place working, manufacturers will normally tell you that this equipment will work within this range of temperatures. It will work within this range of vibration, this range of noise, this range of, so on and so forth. They tell you that the oil quality has to have this minimum amount of dissolved solids, dissolved metals, has to have that minimum level of viscosity and density and so on and so forth, right? So it gives all of those are all operating parameters. What predictive maintenance does is to seek to always gather information about every operating parameter to ensure that they are staying within the mean established for that equipment. If they are, you don't do anything. it means that they will keep working for you. If they are going to start going out of that operating parameter, let's say temperature should stay within 30 and 60. Maybe that's what it says, 30 and 60, that's fine, okay. And for all these months you've been using it, it's been staying between 35 and 40, which you're very comfortable with. But this week, you've seen it going to 41, 43, 49, and now it's 51. You can actually plot that continuous trend that at so and so point in the future, it will hit 60 and I'll have to shut this equipment down, right? So I'm predicting the time based on the forecast of the trend of deviation from the mean for that operating parameter. Once I know what that prediction is for when it's going to fail or be forced to shut down, and I know how much time I have to investigate what is causing that deviation from that mean. And with that time, I now do my investigation. So I get to those troubleshooting parts in the manual that says, if this light is showing, if this thing is going beyond this, check this, check that. So let's say temperature is going up. Check the radiator, level of coolant. Check the oil. Is the oil pump still working? Is it running oil across it? The oil level is still okay? Is the oil quality still okay? Is the and so on and so forth. I will check one through all of those things. As I'm getting things that are okay within operating parameters, they can still work. I'll leave them and move on to the next, and so on and so forth. Once I find what the problem is, oh wow, the oil pump was not working, right? So I find that problem and I fix the oil pump. As I fix the 10 and 40, and we're all good again, we keep monitoring how it has come back and how it continues on an ongoing basis. This is predictive maintenance. It's all this we get from those data to be able to forecast, predict future failures, act now to prevent those failures. So in essence, it is a planned maintenance that adopts a blend of the ideas between problem in the future, I react now, not waiting to react when it has failed.
Sir, your line is constantly breaking.
Okay, let me stop my video and see how that will improve. Let me see, where's my modem? My modem is still green. Okay. Hi, now. Audio better?
Better,
Yeah.
but we didn't get all the explanations. The few explanations just passed.
The last, yeah.
Okay. I'll repeat them. So
Can't see anything.
Mine is completely
off. It's completely awful.
Completely crashed.
You can't get you on south.
Taufik, please check your chat. Taufik, please check your chat.
Okay, I apologize for that failure. My network kind of disappointed and just knocked me off. Who can prompt me on where I was before this disruption?
Yeah, in preventive
Predictive
maintenance. Preventive maintenance.
Preventive or predictive? Predictive, yes.
Predictive.
Okay.
You were at the point where you were trying to say that predictive is like preventive maintenance, and then it just went off.
Super. Thank you for that. So predictive is like preventive in the sense
I would
that.
suggest we start all over with the predictive because I think it will be best starting from top.
Okay, no problem. Predictive is also called condition monitoring, condition-based maintenance strategy. It does not wait for things to break, like reactive or run to failure. It does not do routine pre-scheduled activities like preventive maintenance. Instead, it tracks operating parameters using data capture and analysis to ensure that operating parameters stay within the confines of expectations. And when operating parameters that are critical to any asset stay within those confines, then you are sure that asset will keep running forever. For the asset to start failing, those operating parameters will start moving away, deviating from those means, right? And when those deviations begin to occur, you will pick it up in the trends in the data that you are capturing and analyzing. I gave you the scenario where if we're dealing with temperature, and it says between 30 and 60 is the operating temperature of this equipment. All along, you've been experiencing between 35 and 40 as normal. And this particular week, you now start experiencing 41, 45, up to 50, 51. You can map that and plot it to create a forecast as to how long it would take. Maybe another 1 week. If it went from 40 to 51 in 8 days, in 6 days, I probably will run through the remaining 9 degrees. And I'll have to shut down this equipment in 6 days or find a solution why this temperature is going out of its mean or expected operating parameter, right? So I'll start troubleshooting. I'm still using it. It is still working. It has not failed. There's no disruption. There's no downtime. But I know that I must fix that problem in 6 days. If I succeed, which I should, because I'm depending on the data I have, the temperature should come back to normal and my equipment will keep running as if nothing happened. Nobody will observe that something failed, right? So in terms of the way it's applied, it is like preventive maintenance because I will do routine, continuous checks and monitoring, even though I'm not doing routine maintenance tasks on it. It is like reactive or run to failure because when I spot a problem that did not yet happen, that will soon happen, I'll find what I can do to make sure it doesn't happen. So I'm reacting at that point. So it's a blend of preventive and reactive in a proactive approach using data, sensors, capture, and analysis. If I bring it closer to us as individuals, one common problem we face with maintenance of our bodies today is malaria. We have mosquitoes everywhere. You could decide to go reactive, which means if you have the symptoms, you go for a test, it confirms it's malaria, you go buy malaria drugs. You are fine. It's a good strategy. You could decide to go preventive, which means you take a certain fancida or the Sunday medicine that makes sure you don't ever get malaria. That medicine, you will take it every week or every day forever so that you don't even have to have the symptom, downtime, go for a test or anything. That's preventive approach. And from what we have learned, it does not give you immunity or a lifetime guarantee. You may still break down, but at least you have the confidence from day to day, from month to month, to year to year, from year to year that you will be free from malaria. That's preventive. But you could decide to go predictive. Instead of taking the medicine every week, you do a test every week to see how many parasites are in your blood. You know, we all live with parasites of malaria in our blood, right? If the parasite exceeds a certain threshold, it will bring us down. If it stays below a certain threshold, it will not do anything to us. We'll just be fine. So I'm monitoring how many parasites I have. Every week I check. It stays within a certain mean and I'm fine. Any week I see that that parasite level or numbers, the count has gone out, I can decide to take something that week to bring it down, or watch it again for another week, or maybe another 2 weeks, and see if a trend will show itself. And then I know, oh, this is going to be malaria. Sometimes you start seeing symptoms like blisters, little headaches here and there. It's not yet full blown, right? You know that you have to do something about it before it breaks you down. It's all a predictive approach. So that is a way to think about your assets that you manage. So you can decide which strategy you are applying for each asset line item. So all of those things you use to capture data, monitors, videos, meters, sensors, all the tests you do and record the results of those tests, thermography where you capture temperature, sonic monitoring, sound and acoustical analysis, infrared monitoring and analysis. You know, when you have something that goes hot and gets cold and goes hot and gets cold, you may not necessarily know that that problem is happening inside that equipment until you do an infrared monitoring and analysis, right? So all of this data that you capture with all of these tools, you can plug them into an analytical a tool or a spreadsheet where it tells you whether it's within the requirements of that asset or not. And when it is within, you don't do any maintenance or repair. In terms of costs, it's been analyzed and found out that predictive will cost you 1/5 of your preventive and 1/10 of your corrective for certain assets that predictive are suited to. For example, many of us do generator maintenance, small gens, 100 kVA and below. We have all those data we're taking on battery reading and the temperature reading and vibration, and some of those things are becoming very complex dashboards in some sophisticated generators, but we do nothing with them. We still keep doing preventive on a regular basis. Now, it's okay. If you do not invest in the data acquisition and analysis, just keep doing preventive. For those small equipment, it's fine. But if you have a turbine, a massive turbine, that you probably need 30,000 liters of oil to change the oil in that engine, for example, I don't think you will be changing that oil after 200 hours, right? So you probably set up a lab in that plant where the oil is being sampled every week for the characteristics of that oil, and you probably will do that sampling and testing and recording for a long time before you start seeing deviation from the norm, and you start planning a turnaround maintenance where you have to take out all the oil and put in new oil, right? So that's exactly how predictive works. When things become more and more complex, you use data to work with them. You don't just do the I don't care the condition thing you do with preventive and start changing things around. It will not work. It will just raise your cost unnecessarily and make you unsustainable. Okay. So predictive maintenance really is a solution to the over maintenance and the waste that goes with preventive, and it tries to harmonize the two types of maintenance to give you the lowest cost, because basically you stretch your assets, you sweat it as much as possible because you have data that it's not going to fail, it's not going to disappoint you. Okay. The advantages and disadvantages are going to be similar to that of preventive, right? But disadvantages are higher in terms of startup costs. You have the equipment itself, and then you have this data acquiring assets that will have to be tied to it to be acquiring those data. And then you have to have intelligent people that will be paid highly to analyze and make predictions. So the investment in equipment diagnostic and investment in training and skills will also be very high, okay? But the advantages are also very much fewer breakdowns. In fact, there are much more fewer breakdowns compared to preventive and reactive. And you can use your equipment for longer. The assets serve you better, and you get better results from your investments. So we've talked about the 3 strategies. What then is reliability-centered maintenance? It's a combination of more than one maintenance strategy that looks at your system or portfolio approach, okay? The basic philosophy of ROCM is that decisions on maintenance activity should be based on the system's maintenance requirements supported by economic and technical premises. So here, we're not talking about individual assets, we're looking at the system, right? So that's what ROCM does. Now, it is the economics of maintenance. I'm trying to pick and choose, select, and assign different strategies to different items in my asset portfolio to give me overall high reliability and lowest cost. That's been ROCM is simple. Different or corrective or reactive equipment unlikely to fail and redundant systems, I'll drop them there. For the preventive, equipment that are subject to wear, moving parts must always be on preventive for most of the time. Consumable equipment, things that are used up, equipment with no failure patterns, and manufacturer's recommendation, if it's required that you meet manufacturer random failure, some things that you go and do preventive maintenance on them. You make one mistake and that's the end of that asset. So I just leave it and do data acquisition. For example, I'll give you farmers, and we have certain panels, very complex systems. They have certain oils in them that runs to keep them going, right? Now, if those systems, if I can just monitor their temperature and every now and then test the oil quality inside them, I will not open them up to any other exposure to maintenance agreement. I'll just leave them. That's all I'll be doing. So I'll be testing and checking. But I will never dismantle it to come and do a preventive maintenance on it or do anything regularly on it. Just checking and testing. A transformer can run for 25 years without any type of maintenance done on it. But go and check what's happening in the industry today. Most maintenance are failing after 3 to 5 years because somebody has gone to do maintenance on it before. Okay, so be wary of some of those equipment that are systems that their failure can be induced by incorrect maintenance strategy. Okay, so that's our class for today. This is your first class that has an assessment. There are 10 simple questions. Answer them into a Word document. Let the document show your name, of course, and the course, and save the file as your name and the course. And move to your survey upload page. Select this course, upload this attachment that you have solved, and then do your survey and submit. I've also been told that the survey page now allows you to submit your survey for previous classes that you have done that did not require you to submit an assignment. So you can actually submit without putting in a form in there, a document in there. All right, discussion time. Let's hear from you. Emmanuel
Hello,
E, go
sir.
ahead. Yes.
Hello, sir.
Emmanuel E is the first person that his hand went off. I want you to speak first. I'll come to you, Daniel, and then Chinri.
Okay, first question. I have not received the material for this this particular course, so I don't know. Sorry, I didn't get that.
Check your email. You have. Barakat has a mailing list. Unless you're new, it's your first time. Barakat, okay, take note of that and find out what happened. Because she has a mailing list that has everybody in it. So when she sends once and I receive it.
Okay, that's the first question. Second question, regards to the assignment. I'm not sure. I don't know. Have any assignment been given? Or because I saw the attachment of survey, so I don't know if that's an assignment or something I missed.
No. If you are doing the survey, before the survey was configured to insist that you put an attachment, right? We have removed that requirement now. You can do the survey for every class without adding an attachment. But for each class that has an assignment, you must submit that assignment in a Word document into that survey submission.
Okay, is the survey compulsory? Like for the person that was no assignment, is it compulsory?
Yes, it is. You have to go and fill the survey. It's how we get this program to where it is today. We need to hear from you every class.
Oh, okay. Then regards to the course, corrective, I was hoping you could give us more examples of the equipment or the facilities that were on that you could actually run under different, measures, strategy rather. Because in RCM, you said it's a combination of both corrective and predictive. Corrective, preventive, and predictive. It's a combination of all those. So it's a combination of a system. So you need to know which machine or which equipment runs with corrective, which should run with predictive. So I don't know if you could give us an example with, for instance, an aviation industry.
Let me take your electrical system from your generator to your switch, right? So you have the generator that generates the power. You have cables that bring this in. You have distribution boards and changeovers and bus bars and switches. Then you have what consumes the energy inside: fridges, TVs, lights, and expeller fans and the rest, right? End to end, you can put your generator on preventive to be on the safe side for most of you. People like us can do predictive for generators comfortably and will not have any issue, right? You can put your distribution boards and panels on predictive. You can put all your cabling on, okay, so high tension cabling on predictive. You must mega your high tension and armored cables regularly. You mega them, you use a mega, those mega equipment that tests continuity and breakage along the line, right? You must do it on your armored cables. But the indoor wiring is purely run to failure. Switches, sockets, and everything else all run to failure, including your lights and the rest. I just give you what I would do for a typical facility you manage on electrical system, right? If I take your plumbing system, for example, start all the way from your borehole, okay? And then to your treatment plants, to your water tanks, down to the piping inside your building, water in and drains out, and all the various faucets and gadgets you have that uses water inside the house. You will have your borehole and your borehole. In fact, your borehole will be on preventive because every year you want to go in and deseal, depending on the neighborhood, deseal and clean out that borehole machine, pump and put it back in and flush the pipe, right? So that's preventive, right? But everything else in your plumbing system will all be, so your borehole and your treatment, your treatment plant will be preventive as well. Everything else will be on run to failure. Got it? Now, if you have very sensitive areas where water leakage cannot be accepted, like in a museum, an archive, a library, or some of those areas, then you now want to install a predictive system where you install sensors that monitors flows and water leakages from pipes, right? So you can have an early detection mechanism for when a likely leakage will lead to damage. So you don't wait to run to failure in such sophisticated environment. So that will not depend on what you are doing, the service level and the kind of facility you are managing. Now, I gave you the electrical system a while ago that you could do all your lights on run to failure. But if you are managing the Burj Arab, the only 7-star hotel in the world today, you cannot have a flicker in one light out of 15 million lights in that structure, right? You can have a flicker in one, both the outside and the inside and the fountain and the ones inside underground tunnels. Any kind of light, you cannot have a flicker on any one, right? So for you to maintain that service level that people are paying for, you will not use run to failure for lights in those places. You will use preventive. If lights, a particular light normally will start failing one out of it after 2 years, for example, right? Set that every 12 months you put new ones. That there's no chance that one will flicker, go dim, go dark or anything. So that's preventive for that light. Whereas for everywhere else, of course, is a run to failure. So I can now use those lights I'm taking out as my supply for everywhere else. I can live with light going off while I'm putting new ones before anything shows any sign. So these are ways to reason on how to adopt various strategies for the things you manage. But bottom line is, you must make the call to have a strategy for everything. Your walls, your floors, your curtains and tiles on the ground, your windows, your window blinds, your lamps, your cupboards and shelves and beds and pillows and everything. You must have a strategy for every item you put in your asset register.
So basically, RCM depends on the kind of the facility or their end purpose or what they are. It's not.
Yes.
It depends on the kind of. Okay.
It's the overall mission or strategy of that organization that your choice of strategy should align to. So once you've met that requirement, you drive for lowest cost. That's what RCM is trying to do.
Thank you. I got that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Daniel, you can speak now.
Hello?
Yes, please go ahead.
All right. Well, I actually wanted you to iterate or to probably shed some light on the RCM, but I think the question he asked has, to some extent, answered my curiosity. Perhaps I should read on it more before I'll ask any other question, maybe in the next class.
Yes, so if you have assigned strategy to all of your assets, and based on the strategies, you've determined the activities and the costs for each maintenance, the total cost, you note it. Now, look back at the various assets and ask yourself, where can I save cost again? Which asset can I switch strategy to reduce their cost? For example, I can switch some assets from preventive to predictive to further cut down cost on that area, and my total cost will go down. Now, if I'm doing that switch from preventive to predictive to reduce cost, how is it going to affect reliability of that service? If it's going to affect the mission or strategy of that organization and the use of that space, for example, I probably don't want to touch that. But if I can save that money and still provide satisfaction to the users and meet the organization's objective, then I'll save that money and bring down my overall cost. That's what RCM is trying to do. Madam Chair, go ahead.
Okay, I get it.
Cool.
All right, thank you very much. And thanks for that lecture, for really taking out your time to explain to us some of those things. You know, when you were explaining the predictive and got to that level of where it says that it's cheaper, you know, before we got to that slide, I was thinking that why would somebody go for predictive? Because there's a lot of analysis and monitoring that you have to do. Is it that it's been confirmed that the cost of those analyses and monitorings, you know, carrying out some tests and others are even much, much cheaper than what you get from predictive? I'm just wondering, and I want to know how, because there are, from what you explained, there are a lot of monitoring, a lot of checks that you need to do. Those checks, are they just physical checks, or you need to carry out some analysis, some chemical analysis to get some information to build up your data?
Oh, yeah.
So if it is so, how come they are now saying it's cheaper?
Okay. front-end heavy, overall cheaper. So it's in life cycle costs that it is cheaper, right? Because when you set up those systems for analysis, you're not going to be setting them up continuously. The cost of setting up those systems and those equipment to capture those data is evened out into a very small amount compared to how much you will use to blindly maintain them regularly. I give you the example of a turbine, 10 megawatt turbine that requires a 30,000 liter oil to change, right? If I have to be buying that oil even if it's every 6 months or every 1,000 hours or 10,000 hours, whatever I put on it, without having the analysis in place, I will be ending up with spending a lot more than what it would take to analyze and use up the oil to the point when the oil will say I am used up before we remove it. So that unnecessary maintenance, that extra 50 hours that you put in every maintenance, what we're trying to take care of with the predictive. So predictive is front-end heavy, but overall far cheaper. Far cheaper. Because I am actually getting more value for money. I'm not spending any money into the future unless the money that will make sure that I keep getting value. I'm not spending any money when something is working and not giving me any sign that it's going to break. I don't spend any money, I just leave it running. I'm just enjoying it, right? Some people call it sweating the assets, but it's an intelligent way of sweating the assets.
Thank you. I understand better now. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Daniel.
Yeah, hello. Hello, sir.
Okay, yes, Tafi, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Let's say, for example, now in my facility, we have some chairs and some furniture. In which every 2 years, either the thing got bad or not, we must change them. That is the standard set by the management. Can we also call that RCM?
Come again, you said you...
Yeah, I said we are in our facility, we have some furniture in some top management offices. Either they are bad or not, every 2 years, we must change them. It's a must, like it's constant. Can we refer that kind of the thing as RCM?
No, that's PPM.
Reliability centered maintenance.
That's PPM. PPM is the things you do regularly, irrespective of their condition. Preventive maintenance. That's not RCM. RCM does not have anything to do with only one. You don't analyze RCM with one asset. It's the combination of assets and their totals. And the various strategy you have applied to each one that talks about RCM. But the strategy you are adopting for doing something at a particular time, irrespective of its condition, is preventive.
Okay, sir. Then this is an observation, sir. I was thinking if it's possible, you've been in series of interview where you interview a facility manager to be employed. When we are talking about a particular topic, can you please relate to what you experienced or what you heard in an interview so we can know the approach of how we approach those questions when if we eventually found ourselves in a facility manager interview. Hope you get that, sir.
I need to be more specific about this question. I didn't quite get it.
What I'm saying is, essence is, you've been in series of interviews where you interview a facility manager. When we are talking about a particular course or a topics like this, can you please relate to what you heard in an interview or how a question might be asked in an interview room?
That is going to deviate from the reason we are doing this, right? If I'm teaching you how to do it, right, and you apply what I'm teaching you now, when you get on an interview, nobody will tell you how to answer. It's like asking me to say, answer it this way, not how I do it. Let me know the best way to answer it, right? That is not an approach I like. I like to teach you the best practice, right? Once you begin to apply the best practice, by the time you are invited for any interview and you are asked the question, what you were taught and what you have been doing will come to your mind, and you will speak and you'll be accepted. So if you hear me say, do it this way, do it that way, take it as the same way you should do it and the same way you should respond to that question in an interview, okay? I can't turn the entire program into interview preparation. It's about how you can perform on your job, yeah?
Thank you so much.
I get the point though. I don't know anybody that has been through this training, even if it's just 2 classes to attend. If you go to any interview, you are different. Even after today's class alone, right? And you attend an interview today for an FM job, your answers will be far different from every FM on the field, just from what you have learned in 1, 2, 3 classes in this program. Let's say going to 30.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. I wanted to listen to, did I take Chinwe then? Yes, I did. MM.
Okay, hello, sir.
Yes, go ahead.
So, can you hear me?
Yes, I do hear you.
Okay. So now, concerning this predictive maintenance, so instead of doing the regular servicing every time that's costing you a whole lot of money, why not pick out the things that are bad and fix it, since it's more cost efficient and all that?
Yes, it can be applied to generator maintenance, but the implication is that the sensors in that generator has to provide enough data to monitor all operating parameters. For example, you have to monitor vibration. You want to monitor level. You have to monitor temperature. You have to monitor temperature. You have to monitor so many things and keep them within the operating parameter. So there's so much in terms of sensors that should be available. Some of those generators that come and you have a screen, a computer screen, where you have more than 20 different things the generator is monitoring, because every time you have a dashboard or a screen in the generator, it's connected to sensors inside the generator, right? If you have that kind of equipment in place and you can download that data and analyze it on an ongoing basis, for example, you can, it probably comes with a software that you can connect that dashboard to your phone and be on a daily basis, monitor that every parameter is staying within its mean. You can go predictive with that equipment. You already have what it takes.
Sorry, sir, what software?
No, okay.
What software?
So you know, sometimes you buy an equipment and the equipment is so sophisticated that it comes with a dashboard, like a computer screen on it, right? And it has a Modbus interface. Some equipments have, some generators have Modbus interface where you can connect that equipment dashboard to your computer, and then the manufacturer has a software that you have downloaded in your laptop that you can use to connect and communicate with your generator and monitor the parameters of those sensors that are inside the gen, right? Then yes, you can go predictive. You go ahead and acquire those sensors yourself and mount them in various areas within the generator. And those sensors send information to the cloud. You analyze it, then you can go predictive. But you must have data that helps have objective analysis that your gen is working well. So you don't go bust and you say, well, I didn't predictive. If you don't have enough data for every operating parameter, you cannot do predictive.
Okay.
Thank you, Francis.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. I have 2 questions.
Okay.
Are we supposed to discuss the strategy we are using for any assets with the clients? That is the first question.
Okay.
Then the second question is the cost for setting up these systems for predictive maintenance. Is it going to be paid by the client, or because you are the facility management company, you have to set it up yourself?
Okay.
Would that give you an edge?
Yes, good question. So the first is, if you need the clients to approve your proposal, you need to be able to explain to them the why behind the what you are proposing. So if you decide on the strategy, you need to discuss with the clients on what strategy you are deploying and how that strategy is leading to these activities and this cost. This client signing up to the end is automatic signing up to the reason you had that end or that plan in place, okay? If a client disagrees with your strategy, you have to change the strategy, okay? So we talk about strategy aligning, maintenance strategy aligning with the organizational strategy. The client is the organization that you want the strategy to align with. If you communicated a particular strategy and they don't like that strategy and they feel it's too risky, please switch to a strategy that they understand and they can work with. After all, they're the one paying for it. That's one. Two, if they have accepted that you should deploy predictive maintenance, you do a business case to justify the investment, they should pay for it, their assets. Because if they don't approve it and even pay for it, if something goes wrong tomorrow, you might be liable. When the client says you came here to destroy his asset, we follow manufacturer's manual, and that's how you fail, right? Because every time you are doing predictive, most manufacturers don't recommend predictive, except in very, very complex and sophisticated equipment. They don't recommend predictive. They will tell you, don't do anything, just do these 5-line items I ask you to do. Don't do any oversabi on this equipment. I don't want stories, right? Because they treat everybody as dummies who is buying the equipment. They don't expect you to have any technical knowledge or any ability to take decisions. It's true. That's how manufacturers behave. If you take your vehicle, for example, only in Nigeria, the mechanics will start opening up everywhere, replacing bearing inside hub and replacing crankshaft and reworking piston and rings. The manufacturer of those engines don't want you to do all those things. They will tell you if you have this kind of problem, there's a binding within the engine, you buy a new engine. All right, Francis.
Yeah, so thank you, sir.
Okay. You have a question, or so the former hand that was up? Okay, I think Francis doesn't have a question. All right, thank you very much. Have a good evening. I will not be teaching you on Tuesday and Thursday. Maybe my next class will be Saturday again. Barakat, I have all week locked next week, okay? So I'm sure Saturday I can teach, all right? Thanks, guys. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Hold on.
Bye.
Sorry.
Yeah,
the assignment, how are we getting the assignment?
It's in the material you were sent. Last page.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye-bye.